St. Augustine, and welcome. I have to remember which camera to look at. I'm not used to sitting in this seat. Mike is gone, as you can see. He is traveling in parts unknown, and we are here partying without him, holding down the fort. So we're going to make some money. We're going to give you a community update, and we are going to bring in our guest and have a great conversation. So we will start out with Bozard Ford Lincoln. They are the premier place to buy a vehicle in St. Augustine. Their goal is to make sure your time and experience buying a car is stress-free, fun, and enjoyable. Bozard is a family-owned Ford dealership that has been in business since 1949. Bozard Ford has been the recipient of numerous dealer awards, including being ranked #1 automotive dealership in the nation by Dealer Rater. Bozard Ford also has won back-to-back President's Awards, which is the highest honor given by Ford Motor Company. Check them out online at bozardford.com or head down there, have a meal at Ford's Garage, get the Jiffy Burger. It's our favorite. I can't have bread or peanuts right now, so go have one for me because I can't have it. I'm on meat and vegetables. I'm sorry, guys. A to Z Roofing and Waterproofing. Get your friends at Chuck McCone's team at A to Z Roofing for a free estimate. They've been serving St. Johns County for over 20 years in the construction industry. A to Z offers metal roofs for saltwater area homes with warranties for up to 25 years. A to Z also offers shingle roofs with warranties for up to 50 years. They install tile roofing, cedar shake shingles, designer roofing, and flat roof coverings. Recent job photos with material descriptions can be seen at A to Z Roofing and Waterproofing.com. Call Chuck McCone. Get his team on the case. Abar Kresge and Associates. If you have not done your taxes yet, you need to do them. Call Abar Kresge and Associates. They are a full-service local CPA firm with a team of skilled professionals dedicated to providing top levels of service in the areas of tax compliance, planning for businesses, individuals, estates and trusts, audits, reviews, and other accounting services. They also do business valuations, forensic analysis, and litigation support. You can reach them at 904-460-0747 or online at abarkresgecpa.com. My phone is blowing up today, y'all. It's a Monday. Everyone texts me on a Monday. All right, we've got Brightway Insurance, the Casey agency. They opened their doors in 2008, and they have proudly stood by their customers through hurricanes, major floods, hails, and fires. Through all of these events, the agency has become a much-needed insurance resource in times of trouble and hardship. Honesty and integrity are the pillars of our core values, says owner Ashley Casey. We pride ourselves on being insurance experts while developing strategies that help our clients meet their insurance needs. They truly enjoy the relationships that they have forged, and the office has a real love for St. Augustine, which inspires all of them to do their best for you. For all your insurance needs, check out Brightway Insurance, the Casey agency. All right, we've got Jackie Hurd's calendar with your update. We've got events today. Today is March 18th. It is Greek Independence Day. I did not realize that it was Greek Independence Day. I guess that's the Greek festival normally. When is the Greek festival? Isn't it in October?
I have no idea.
You have no idea?
I don't go very often.
This is our guest.
Sorry.
Townsend Russell.
Off guard there.
I know.
I was just thinking about Black Molly's opening today. I was like, I should go there.
I know
after
you've
this.
been.
It's been like months.
Yeah, that's like your favorite dinner spot, isn't it?
But they're not a sponsor, so we can't talk about them.
We can.
Oh,
you can.
okay.
You can
Well,
give
that
recommendations.
is my favorite restaurant for sure.
After this, go meet Townsend Russell at Black Molly. Or you could go to the diner. What is it? Georgie's Diner on Malaga.
For sure.
Have some Greek food. It's Greek Independence Day, March 18th. Who knew? I didn't know. Thank you, Jackie Hurd Calendar, for that international news update.
I think it's in the fall.
I think the Greek festival's around my birthday usually. I think it's in October.
Okay.
Yeah. Your birthday's in October too.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
The best birthday day on the planet.
Allegedly.
Factually.
All right, we've got some updates. We got some parties. Your family might be interested in this. Party for the Planet at the Alligator Farm.
Love the Alligator Farm.
Yep. Camp Croc Wildflower Garden at the St. Augustine Alligator Farm. It's April 20th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. They're going to be giving all kinds of advice on native plants. You guys are going to have some landscaping in one of your properties soon, right?
A whole bunch of it.
Go learn all kinds of landscaping demonstrations, tips for wildflower gardens, native plants, composting. There will be animal meet and greets, educational booths, all kinds of fun stuff. Party for the planet. Go to the Alligator Farm's website to register. That's April 20th.
What kind of animal meat?
Meet and greet.
Oh.
You get to have fun meeting them,
but
not eating them.
Got it.
Yes. Wrong spot.
Different type of animal meat.
Not Black Molly, Alligator Farm.
Got it.
We also have an update for Emma Concerts. Their next event is April 4th. It's Words and Music with Stefana Take Two. It's going to be from 1 to 2 p.m. at the Waterworks. Steve and Anna Marr are a clarinet and piano duo, and that is a free admission for the Emma Concerts on April 4th. So check them out. Emma Concert Association, they are a great cause, and they raise money for scholarships. Fantastic. Coming up this Saturday, we've got Bourbon and Barbecue with Jimmy Jam. Get your tickets. Tim, put it in the comments. Are you guys sold out yet? Let us know. I'll try and drop the link in. If you haven't bought your tickets yet, it's going to be at the Milano Room, March 23rd from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. There's going to be bourbon pairings with barbecue. This is going to be delicious. It's going to be an amazing event. And coming up, our friends at Task Force Hydro One, they've got their luau. Buy your tickets now if you haven't yet. The luau is coming up. It's May 11th. Get your tickets early so that they can be prepared for you. These are military guys. Help them get prepared. Buy your tickets early.
Where's it going to be?
Where's it going to be? It's going to be at Mark Lance Armory, 190 San Marco Avenue in St. Augustine, Florida, 32084.
Thank you for that information.
You're welcome. You can go to Task Force Hydro One, their website. They have an events tab. You can buy your tickets through a link there. I'll try and put them in the comments. Yeah, today's Monday before primary day, right?
Yes. What do you call that? Fat Tuesday? Nope. Wrong. Total.
Fat Cat.
Total different topic.
Fat
there.
Cat Tuesday is primary day. Well, we've got Townsend Russell. Welcome back to the show. It's good to have you.
Always.
You are back with us. This time we're talking about happier things. We're talking about 100% Dad, talking about your new book, talking about your new businesses.
Yeah.
Excited to talk about all of this
want.
stuff. But we do have voting. Vicki asked us to give an announcement on voting. Turnout's low in St. Johns County.
Well, it's essentially a nursing home popularity contest this year.
Well, there's not really. So I get why turnout's low, because there's only really one dude standing on each side. So, but it's for the principle of it. Just go and cast your vote tomorrow for the primary, just so you've done your civic duty. I went last week. I voted last week.
If not for yourself, if not for your civic duty, just do it to make Vicki feel better.
Exactly. We love it when Vicki is happy about turnout. So help Vicki. She's our friend. Help her get that turnout up, because, dude, they were setting up a polling station at we have homeschool community on Mondays, and the church where we have homeschool community is now a polling center for the first time ever. And so that was a whole different situation. They dropped off polling machines. They had to put it in a locked room, so we couldn't have access to the kitchen, because you put it in the kitchen, they put it on lockdown. We couldn't go in there.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Voting security.
Yeah.
At least they weren't hey, play with these.
There were guards with the voting machines, and they put them into a locked space. And so we all ordered pizza for lunch because we couldn't go in the kitchen.
There's worse things that can happen.
I couldn't have any, though. Lent. Lent's long.
Yeah, why would you give up peanuts for Lent? And why would you choose bread and peanuts?
I've given
These things
up
don't make sense
everything. All I'm eating is meat and plants right now.
So I will go full carnivore sometimes, and it bothers Ryan. Ryan's my wife.
Yeah.
But
Y'all have met her.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, I feel great on it.
And strictly no vegetables, no salad.
But every now and again, you get the whiff of something that would be just so nice to have. And today there was just pizza everywhere. Hot, fresh pizza.
I can typically resist pizza.
Yeah.
But steak, I have a hard time. If you cook red meat.
Well, it's good that you're carnivore then.
So I'm not carnivore, but I'll do 3-4 days in a row
yeah.
sometimes. And then after that, I feel I can't do anything. Just I can't go vegetarian. I can't go keto. I can't do anything for excessive periods of time because I start to feel like I feel good after a few days of it, but then if I push it too far, it stops having those positive effects on me.
Yeah. So you have to cycle on and off.
Yeah, just kind of do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So I feel like eating meat the next 3 days. Let's do it.
Right on.
Yeah. Next 3 days, all M&Ms.
Yeah. I don't know that that's good.
It's worked for me. I'm not dead yet. So that's
he's not dead yet.
Positive.
Monty Python. I've had lots of Monty Python references recently. I don't know why.
I don't know almost any.
No?
Yeah, we are in different demographics for comedians.
I think that you would appreciate Monty Python's humor.
I guarantee. But I feel like my grandfather used to reference a lot of
You're not that much younger than me.
That's why I'm wondering.
You uncultured
why you
swine.
Only watch, what is that, like the AMC channel or,
I don't even have cable.
So that's why, black and white TV over the airwaves.
So I haven't had cable in over a decade. So it's all old references.
I don't think I've ever had cable.
No?
No.
You haven't had it since I've known you.
Yeah, we just, like, even in our house, like, we had one TV. It was covered by a map most of the time.
Yeah.
And we weren't even streamers. It would be like the occasional movie. Yeah, we just weren't very big TV people.
Yeah. You guys are very outdoorsy people.
We like being outdoors, that's for sure.
I think I've seen your television on twice in all the years I've known you.
What were we watching?
One of them was Thanksgiving, and we had a football game on.
Okay, yeah.
And the other time it was Kids Bop. And my kids were like, what is this? They had never heard Kids Bop before.
So music on YouTube, I think probably there's. And then we'll also watch our family videos, which we have on YouTube. And so that's what we do a lot of if we're going to be watching TV.
Isn't that funny that you can we don't have, the VHS cassette tapes? Did you guys have family movies with VHS cassette tapes?
Before my era. I'm just kidding. No, we never had those.
Careful, there are people in the comments that probably have 8mm family videos.
And those are cool too. I just didn't have them. Now, my her family did a lot of videotape when they were young, so they had them. Yeah. But there's no videotape of me when I was a kid. It just doesn't exist.
Maybe you don't exist.
There's a theory.
I might be talking to myself.
So yeah,
hologram.
We go down some dangerous tangents there that I don't think we should go down. But it'd be fun. Yeah. It's not appropriate.
I'm a little free association today. I've been talking a lot. Someone's talking about Monty Python references.
Ooh, throw some good jokes in.
Barbara Jean said Monty Python references make you old. Ouch. Don't you be insulting my viewers now. Take them out.
Listen, if it was an Adam Sandler reference, that would be more
I also know those.
That's outdated. Though.
I also know those. Yes.
Because he's getting old.
Yes,
it's unfortunate. Now, who's the good-looking comedian that everyone likes?
Matt Rife. Matt Rife's until he said things that got him canceled.
Did he?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Well, he's a comedian. If you do comedy right, then you're gonna offend somebody.
But how do you actually get canceled? I feel like that's the intent of comedy is to go into provocative areas to get laughed, because you have to step outside the weird zone to get your audience in that.
Yeah.
And that.
Well, it's not funny if you're not kind of
appalled.
If it's not based on truth, and if you're not kind of skirting the line of pushing the envelope. And so you're going to occasionally push it further than people would like. And that's when you get the groans. And they'll either pull back or they'll push harder when they get the groans. That's the way comedians are. I mean, George Carlin got lots of laughs. Every now and again, he got a groan. Bill Burr, he gets groans every now and again.
Bill Burr, I've never seen his comedy before.
No.
But I saw something during COVID. That was this whole thing of of course I'm going to get the shot. Like everyone thinks the shot has something in it.
Yeah.
And he's like, if they're going to try and kill us all or try and control us, what they're giving us now, the current shots, that's going to have the antidote to it. It's the next thing that comes around that kills all the stubborn people that refuse to take the shot.
You thought we were talking about controversial stuff before? Now you talk about that. By the way, Threads is an amazing platform, and Mark Zuckerberg is just, he's a bomb human being. We love Mark Zuckerberg here.
What are we talking about?
We're on his platform. So if we say things that are controversial to Facebook, Threads, and Mark Zuckerberg, then we just remind everybody how amazing Mark Zuckerberg is. We
were talking about how a comedian said something controversial.
And we found that is what we said.
Ish. Also insulting.
Of course.
Possibly.
Maybe.
We find it however you want it. us to find it.
Whatever makes y'all happy.
Yeah. That's,
And Facebook happy. We swear. So you are 100% Dad, and you are a published author. You have littered the desks with books.
right? This is cool. So
This is very cool.
My English teachers would be offended. My mom is proud.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. Like it's actually got words in it. There's no pop-up pictures.
Yeah.
Because our first book was all images. That was this one, if anybody can see it.
Yeah. You
So
came
that
on
was-
and you talked on the show about this book, but you didn't bring one to show us.
When? That's never happened, I swear.
For sure it did.
So-
I know it did.
Well, first, this book didn't really have a lot of words. Like it
Yeah.
did, but like these were all our best Instagram posts, which is cool. So it's like a coffee table book. But
Yeah.
that wasn't like a written book.
Okay.
It was a collection of like our best memes.
Okay.
This one's actually written like a real author. I don't
Like
know.
a real author.
Right?
Yeah.
So I did good. We had to bring in now. My writing style is very if you're on my blogs, if you're on Instagram, my writing style is very different than most authors. So we did have to hire some professionals to be like, all right, take my words and like make them make sense to people. And then we had some.
You're a direct man.
We had some close friends and family that actually know writing and things like that. Review it to make sure it was readable and didn't have errors. Because if you've ever read an email from me, you're like appalled, especially you, because you're the grammar police.
I'm not the grammar police.
You are absolutely.
You know what? So I correct the grammar on a couple of his memes, and then I get this grammar police moniker.
Well, it was a daily correction, and it was
Not daily.
It's starting to take it
It
personal.
was about monthly, every other month. I just stopped sending them to you. It's like, I'm just gonna let you be you.
So yeah, so I'm excited about it. It's really cool. Let's stop talking about my grammar. But there's no
You did a great
pop-ups.
job. You
Yeah.
hired editors, so the
Yes.
grammar's great.
So that way it was actually readable and people didn't. So
Yeah.
'cause sometimes my writing, like it feels like you're getting yelled at. Like that's what
You're
my
a passionate
wife has
man.
said. Yes. So
Yeah.
it can, my tone can be overly aggressive, I guess, when I'm writing. To me, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just my personality. But
Yeah.
as an outsider, not knowing me reading it, it can come off as aggressive. So we had to tone some of that down.
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of how this book came out. I think
I think it's an excellent book. Now, so do you remember talking about some of the content on this book in a Bible study? We've been co-parishioners at church.
oh yeah.
For
this is
forever.
a very old Bible study. I
Yes,
assume, like a
very,
decade
very old
ago?
Bible study.
Okay.
We were in like a couples Bible study. The kids had nursery.
I do
and
remember
you were
this.
talking about like your family plan and what you do. And you have this binder. And
That's funny.
my husband and I and a couple of the couples were like, hey, you should write a book. We want to know how to do this.
I don't
And-
remember that. I remember this Bible study because there were some fun things that were said
yeah.
in that Bible study.
There were.
I did not like the particular study
The
we were
subject
doing.
matter, yeah.
And so I came in
I
there with
agree.
a fiery passion fighting against this particular topic we were dealing with.
That's when we learned that we agree with each other on a lot of stuff. I did not like the book either.
It was
Oh.
it was good, but it was very thought provoking. I think you need those
Yeah.
kind of things every once in a while to take in competing views or,
Yeah.
or things you don't agree with because it really challenges you to
I
think.
appreciated having that open forum to kind of digest ideas that maybe I agreed with some of it, a lot I didn't agree with. And so to contend with ideas that differ from your own, I think is healthy.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so being able to discuss it in a group where people did agree and where people didn't agree was also interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, it's just intellectually stimulating. Which
for sure.
I find I like it when my brain's actually working. Versus
Little
this, like,
blood flow into the
dull
lobes.
buzz. You know?
Yeah. We talked about that with the kids today in my class about being present and engaged in the world rather than apathetic and letting the world walk over you or wash over you.
I was just listening to a podcast today while we were working on. They were talking about how like the future. This is these people's opinion. The future is
Yeah.
going to be because they do it in some small countries in Africa, I think, where it's like nothing but shanty houses and things like that, like tin roofs, like basically built up by cardboard. And the population of these countries are so frustrated and upset with their government, their leaders, because they're so poor and life is so miserable that what the government did was gave everyone free satellite TV. Literally, all these shanties
What
have
an
free
interesting
satellite TV.
option.
And what it's done is it's really curbed all the hate and everything towards government because now they can sit in their crappy situations and they're occupied. They're mentally occupied by entertainment, and that is just good enough to not hate the government anymore. So,
Interesting.
And so they're actually doing that in Africa. And I thought
that's wild.
And so their whole thing in this podcast was, I think, against was that like a universal pay system? That's what they're eventually going to do, and how those kind of things. That
UBI.
You just pay people enough that you'll lack all motivation to do things anymore, and you'll sit there and be happy and whatever. We get entertained. We've got our phones and.
You'll own nothing and like it.
But it's as a parent, you don't really you look at that life and you sit there and say, is that what I want for my kids?
Yeah.
And personally, absolutely not. I would almost rather no phones, no TVs, because I'm just a nature person. Let's just be out in the woods somewhere, nonstop.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's me. I live in the in between, but I would rather be off grid and a crazy person with no electronics than fully on grid and just, what do you call that? Mind numb.
Just plugged in.
Yeah. And just not really living life to the fullest.
Yeah.
Not challenging yourself, not being the best of what you can be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Y'all, your family is way more outdoorsy than mine.
Yes. We are. It's almost at a spiritual. We just.
Yeah.
It's where we refresh. It's where we connect the deepest. And I don't know. It satisfies us at a very real level.
When we do go outside and engage in nature-y activities, we always have a fantastic time, and we're always super connected and present.
So do more.
I know.
Just grab a tent. Tents are cheap, and go to the state park.
We tried to take the tent that you left in the house, but we couldn't find it in the garage. So
it was always there.
I know.
My brother-in-law took it.
He didn't always answer our texts. Maybe that's why we couldn't find it. He had it in the truck.
It's great.
Townsend was our neighbor for a while, and now his brother-in-law is in that house.
Fun story. We took them to a 21 Pilots concert, and then we were like, "Hey, the house across the street, their house, honey, house across the street for sale." And they ended up buying it, and then we left town.
Yeah, so they tricked us.
We were like, "Come
they
live next to us."
They left town so that we could babysit their house for a year and a half before they decided to sell it. We were tricked. We were duped. But you won't be duped if you buy Good Dad to Great Dad. So what's the title about? Good Dad to Great Dad. What's your message here?
So the 100% Dad branding is never been really focused towards the guys that are not involved in their kids' lives. It's never been about taking what we would call a bad dad and turning them into a good dad. That's it was never our target because, let's be honest, those guys really aren't looking to improve in that area. Yeah. They've typically abandoned their families or just aren't involved, or that's not a priority for them. Otherwise, they would be stepping up to a good dad on their own.
You're looking for the dad that's seeking to improve. He's there, he's present, and he wants to do better.
Exactly. So we're trying to, that's who our platform has always been to. And our biggest platform was Instagram. We grew from 0 to, well over 40,000 followers in about 2 years, and it was putting out that type of content. How can we go from good to great? How can we be more involved? How can we establish our legacies more? And so that really kind of became a reoccurring theme of how do we get better? How do we get better? How do we set our lives up in a way that not only are we better fathers, and so our kids turn out better, so our relationships are more healthy, but how do we kind of create a path to where our sons also become good fathers and have good families, and their kids and our grandkids become good fathers, and our daughters are marrying good men that are great dads. And so how do we create that kind of structure? Because, I come from the small business world, and a lot of guys and dads included in small business owners, we have these quirks. We know how to live life. We know how to make good decisions. We know how to just take the right path, but we don't necessarily know how to teach our kids how to do that. So that way, in the business world, you see a lot of very successful men hand their business off to the second generation, to the third generation, and the failure rates are incredibly high. Yeah. Because the original, the patriarch, in a sense there, knew what he was doing, but didn't really pass on how he made those decisions. Didn't really pass on his thought process on things. And so the second generation is always trying to keep up, but they don't actually know what they're doing. Yeah. And so that really became the reoccurring theme, and the main content for the book is how do we set up kind of a legacy? How do we set up the second, third, infinite generations to also be great fathers? Because as we know, if you've ever read any study that pertains to fatherhood, when you have involved good and great dads in the family, changes everything.
Absolutely.
If you really want to solve the problems in the world, if you really dial it to one thing, fatherhood genuinely does that. When you put fathers in a home, every metric the government or the universities study goes in the right direction. Yes. I mean, if we're talking just pure economics at the community level, at the family level, we're talking about, STD rates, teenage pregnancy. We're talking about educational levels, dropout rates, graduation rates, how much higher education they achieve, how long the marriages last, the divorce rates. Everything goes dramatically. And like, it's not like, hey, we have 3-4% increases. You have like 200-400% increases. You take fathers out of the equation, which we really did in the 80s and 90s. Those numbers tank. And in communities without fathers, it's terrible. Versus like we live in a pretty good county. There's a lot of good dads, a lot of great dads, a lot of involved families, and we have a lot of charitable activities. We have a lot of our economics are solid, our education's solid. So it really kind of ties in there. If you really want to have an impact in the world, fatherhood's kind of like a central piece there. It's not the only piece, but it is definitely a huge factor. And so we want even the good dads to work to become great and build the next generations. Yeah. Because you start looking forward 30, 40, 60 years.
Well, I started doing research on the effect dads have on kids when I was looking at articles as a church employee and a mother with children that I'm raising in a church. And I started looking at articles about the prevalence of kids that walk away from their faith as they get older. And when you start looking at the statistics there, it was a little disheartening for me as a mom, because whether or not I'm present in the pew next to my kids, whether I'm making sure that they're there at church, has almost no effect as to whether or not they stay in their faith as adults. It's almost entirely a matter of the father being present and supportive in the faith that leads kids to continue to walk in that faith.
Yeah. And for families not of faith that convert, if the dad converts, it's most likely the entire family's going to go with them. So it's weird the role dads have. Like it's this almost mystical power thing. It's bizarre. Like it just has a lot of effect on a lot of dynamics. It's really interesting to study.
How does that make you feel as a dad? I know how
Superman sometimes,
like
also,
Superman,
a lot of weight on the shoulders.
Yeah, like kind of terrified, right?
Yeah. Now this is at the macro level, right?
Yeah.
We're talking numbers across the U.S.
And these are averages.
This isn't
obviously
taking the individual.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's going to be individual scenarios where hey, my dad wasn't, but I did.
And I believe the stats are typically an involved dad in the house, so not just like a body present,
right?
But an involved dad in the household.
Specific to the church equation, it can go the other way too. We've talked to families where they're not involved in churches anymore, but they went every Sunday dutifully as a family, and the dad thought he was doing a good job, setting a good example. But what the kids were seeing, the kids were witnessing, was really a dad that did it begrudgingly, a dad that complained about it, a dad that
was not
never
invested.
had anything positive to say about it, was sleeping half the time in the pews, and they grew up with the mentality of, well, I never want to like force my kids to do it the way, the way my parents forced it. So it's not quite so black and white. There are necessary variables in there that you got to be looking out to. So look at the whole picture for sure.
Yep.
Powerful role for sure.
It certainly is. I mean, like I said, I looked at those stats about church attendance and holding to a faith. And as a mom, I was like, well, what am I doing? Like, I guess my job is to make sure my husband gets there because he's the one that's going to have the impact. And in my situation, it wasn't something that I had to force. My husband was very involved in his faith and he wanted to be there. But back to that Bible study, probably a decade ago. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking credit for you writing this book.
That was the reason.
I expect partial royalties for the book.
So back then, I had a book written, which is the one you're talking about, and that was a book. We even had a friend edit it, and I thought that was going to be my first book. And then once we kind of finished it, I read it, and it was the most boring thing in the world because it was very. We kind of talk about this in the book. It was our playbook. It was what I wrote to my kids on. Like, this is how I live. This is why I live this way. These are my whys behind everything. And this is what I think you should do.
Yeah.
And of course, you can make your own decisions, but if you really want to know Dad's thought processes on life, here it is.
Yeah.
And that is a boring thing to read. Also, if you were an outsider, you'd be like, stop telling me how to live, that kind of thing. So
you're not my real dad, Townsend.
we never published that because I knew it wouldn't be good.
Yeah.
And that sat on the shelf for like 5 years. And then when we had the chance to sell our companies here in St. Augustine and
lay off my husband,
allow us to retire.
Yep.
And we knew we wanted to travel. And we knew we wanted to, I knew eventually I wanted to do this dad thing. And so it was that book that became the original content for what 100% Dad was. So we were able to take what was a book and break it into one-liners and memes. And that's what we put on Instagram. And that's, of course, how we grew. And then it led to, instead of telling people how to live and about our playbook of almost how to create that and how to live that way for yourself with your own values, your own morals, your own thoughts and opinions, and not have to be force-fed minds. So, which is a much better way to write a book.
Well, it's a much better way to encourage others to make the decisions you feel is wise.
Yes.
Rather than saying, ascribe to my values and do it this way.
Yes.
You're saying, this is a way that you can take ownership over this process for yourself. And so that's what I think is really cool about this. So the first half, you're kind of laying out your argument for why you should be a great dad, right? And so we've kind of bounced around that a little bit in this conversation. And then the back half of the book is really going through the steps of creating this playbook and really establishing a family culture for your household. And so I think that it's a great process. It's a great way to have important conversations with your kids. It's a great way to be a responsible parent.
Sure. And it creates accountability. It creates clarity. And these are two very important things for parenting. If you've ever been a leader, both in business or as a parent, you know repetition is key. Being clear is key. Saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, even though it's frustrating from our standpoint, a lot of times, even employees, but certainly kids, they hear it the first time around the 22nd time you've said it. So
there's that old joke of the strip bars always have, nudes, and it's always in triplicate, and it's because guys don't listen until the third time.
Well, that's fair.
So girls. Oh, wait, there might be girls there. So, kids, I would say 22nd time is probably about right.
Oh, for sure. And so that's what, and when you can create a tangible thing that really allows your values and what you feel is important in your life and what you want future generations to know, if you want those things to truly be passed on, it has to be known. So that's where the clarity comes in place. And it has to be real. You can say what you want. If you're not living it, if you're not being held accountable, or let's think of a scenario. Can we go specific on this thing?
We can. You as a vegan.
Yeah. If being vegan's important to you and Dad's sneaking chicken wings, once a week, kids are it's
cheat day. Yeah. And it's just a carnivore feast.
These things are not going to really sink in.
Yeah. Well, it's also like the dad who, yes, he did the right thing by going to church every Sunday, but obviously hated every second of it. It obviously wasn't resonating with him, and kids get the opposite message. Well, that it lacks value and that it's something to be avoided.
It's not always that dad it's not even that dad actually feels that way. Sometimes he is being dutiful and he actually does like church, but
he's being a grump.
But what he's putting on the exterior, he just doesn't even realize it because he's not looking at it from that point of view. Like I said, and when you're a leader, sometimes you have to be very aware of your body language, very aware of the words you're using. So, sometimes his dad just doesn't even realize what he's doing there.
Yeah.
But back, to our vegan example, and it's not that you never make a mistake. And that's where accountability comes in place. You can want to live one way, you can try to live one way, you can have setbacks, you can have failures, you can just plain screw up.
Yeah.
But then we have to be able to sit there and say, but that's not how we want to live. Let me fix this and try and be better. And then you're being held accountable to the whole family. And then what's even great about that is kids can sit there and see.
Yeah.
See, Dad's not perfect.
Yeah.
There's not this high standard that I can't achieve, so why bother trying? And they know that failure is okay and failure is expected. and that life keeps going on. It's really trying to be your best, not necessarily just being the best human on the planet.
So this isn't about being perfect and only projecting perfection to your kids.
It's impossible.
Yeah, 100%, 100% impossible. So Dad's playbook. So it starts with like a credo, right? Talk to me about the playbook.
Well, then we're getting into the actual book. If you want to know how to build a playbook, you got to buy the book.
Well, talk to me about the benefits of having this playbook.
There are playbooks. Well, for starters, there's a few elements to it. For starters, it's going to create that clarity. So there's kind of multiple levels to it. So we have one version that we call the Family Constitution that we actually have printed and hung. And ours, we're kind of like, I'm a bit of a history nerd. I like the Constitution. So we had ours formatted like the Constitution. So the one that hangs in our house, the one that's in our RV, the ones our kids see, actually looks like the Declaration of Independence, has like that real old cool script and like the yellowing paper and everything. And that's kind of like hitting the bullet points on certain things that are important to us. And then the actual playbook is going to be way more in depth. And those are essentially writings to your kids and gets way deeper. And that gets broken down to a lot of different levels. And that was essentially the book, the first one.
Okay.
And then there's some bonus things, for clarity and accountability. Just family rules are very important. And a lot of people are just kind of winging these things. They're like, hey, XYZ, you shouldn't have done that. Kid doesn't know they shouldn't have done it. Yeah. Especially when it comes to like dating and more, what do you call this? Like taboo topics, like a little more awkward for parents to have those conversations. Yeah. Getting them written down and clear. And so the kids actually know them. And it's not just you saying it once and then having this expectation that your kid has memorized everything you've ever said once. Yeah. And just having complete and utter clarity so everyone's on the same page. It's huge.
Your kids don't memorize every word you say the first time. You are doing it wrong, brother.
Well, my kids do. I was worried about your kids.
That's true. I mean, your son did rap for me on Halloween, so I know that he can remember stuff.
Yes, he did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he did.
He's really into making musical beats now.
Musical beats?
Yeah.
He needs to meet my friend Clay.
He should. He's even on SoundCloud.
Engineer.
He's not on SoundCloud. I post this up to SoundCloud for him. No way.
So you are now your son's dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you do as a dad.
You pay well?
I do not get paid well. And it's
Hugs
super frustrating because he only wants to post things because we don't give him access to the internet.
Yeah.
He only wants to post things when I'm super busy.
Yeah,
so it's like,
course.
hey, let's do it now.
And it has to happen right this second.
Yeah. So we've created some processes for that. So that doesn't happen quite that way anymore.
24-hour like requisite form, the whole deal.
Basically. Yeah. It's much more efficient now than the first few times was driving me nuts. But he's actually pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
I'm actually impressed by what he has created. I would say what his username is right now, but I can't remember. Galaxy 5.
That tracks.
If you want to look it up. Galaxy 5.
Galaxy 5 on SoundCloud.
You want to hear some like EDM type beats. Okay. It's just music, no lyrics or anything. Just
beats.
Type of. I mean, it's more complicated than that.
I mean, maybe. Don't you listen? You update it.
I definitely listen to it. It is not my thing, and just when you're a parent, you have to make sacrifices sometimes. So I am trying to get into this type of music so I have something in common with my kids, even though I don't necessarily enjoy it right now. I don't want it to be. And I make them listen to the type of music I like. So,
this is my story right now with Taylor Swift and my daughters.
Ooh.
Yeah. I actively avoided Taylor Swift my entire life.
What? And you have a son that's in the
Warhammer 40K.
Which my kids did not get in that, but we took them to the Warhammer store.
They didn't have the space to get into it. You need a lot of space for Warhammer.
That is, I thought it was this weird little thing, like, and it kind of is, but it's old, it's established. We went to that store over there at what is that, 312 and 207 in US 1.
207 in US 1, there is a Warhammer 40K store.
Yep. You can paint your stuff there. You can have battles there. They got everything you can imagine.
Elizabeth's fantastic.
But if my kids had gotten into that, I would have gotten into it with them. Same thing.
Which is what my husband has done, and now I'm learning. It's a process.
It's good. You should do things. You should try and get interested in things that your kids are interested in. A, so you don't grow apart, but B, so it's more quality time to spend with each other. And even though it's not your favorite thing, it's a great tip.
It broadens your horizons also, because I'll introduce you to things that maybe you actively avoided, like I did, or things that you just didn't know existed. I mean, Warhammer 40K is this whole other world, sci-fi fantasy. It's like a strategy game, but it's multi-component, whole culture almost. I mean, you have to build your characters,
and you create.
You build them all, and there's so many options, so you can really customize their individual pieces, almost like IKEA toys. You get so many different pieces. You can customize them. You paint them to match whatever army structure, whatever that you want. There's like big bugs, kind of like Starship Troopers. They have the big bug, like bad guys that fight. Oh my word!
You're getting into
there's
a world
all
that
these
I don't know.
all these races and worlds, and they battle, and it's strategy, and it's a whole thing.
Yep.
There's a whole other world in my dining room.
But it's great because you see that a lot with like dads that are really into sports. Like they want their kids to be in sports, and sometimes you just have a kid that's not into that kind of thing, and you have different personalities, and so it's, even though it's not your thing, it's a great piece of advice to kind of get into what they're interested in.
Make it your thing,
because that's going to tighten that relationship, and that's it's really what you want before they hit those teenage years. You really want to have a nice
solid foundation,
bonded relationship, because the teenage years are going to test you, and it's going to test that relationship, and if you don't have that bond, it makes it that much more difficult.
You definitely want to have a strong bond with your kids by the time they get to the teenage years. What advice might you give to someone who maybe didn't have that foundation in the teenage years?
So the study, and this is because now you have to get into like psychology and things like that, and family therapists. Some of the best things you can do when you don't have that relationship is go way overboard on the amount of isolated times you have together. And the way I take that, and the way I've seen it played out with a lot of family counselors, is because I'm a nature person, the whole camping thing, the whole hikes, the whole getting out in nature,
paradigm
really does
shift.
that. And a lot of times when you're struggling with a teenager, or like that teenager hates you right now, doesn't want to spend any time creating those scenarios, and if you have the means and ability, like getting real far and real long on your time, so like if you could do a 1 week canoe trip down a river where you're like camping on the side of the banks, you start to get a little pricey in those kind of things.
Hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Hiking the Appalachian Trail, not that expensive.
Yeah.
Especially because you don't need guides on that kind of stuff, where like a lot of rivers you need to have guides because it's permit based. But even like just local parks around here, going up to Georgia to the state parks or national parks, and tent camping, that's not very expensive. But basically dragging these teenagers that you're having a bad relationship with, kicking and screaming, because they're not going to want to go.
They're not going to want to go.
They're going to give you the silent treatment for the first 2-3 days. That's why longer time is better. But not being able to use their phones to kind of complain about you to their friends online, and getting the most horrible advice from people online. Or
teenagers raising teenagers
friends,
on phones,
a lot of the psychology and a lot of the family counselors, the heavier you go into isolated time with your kids, the better. Because eventually those walls will fall, and they'll know you're kind of there for them. And just being available, you don't even have to have like these long, deep conversations and moments like that, but an inordinate amount of time spent and making that quality time, quantity time, not quality time. So a little bit of both there, but.
Well, quantity will evolve into quality.
And so here's what a lot of parents will do. You start to have those moments where the kid doesn't want to be around you. Like they're throwing fits, essentially, teenage level fits. They want to spend more time away, and the parents are so frustrated. They're like, gosh, it's easier when they're not here. Like, let them go. Let them storm off. Let's just, and you really drift apart. And that is not the best thing, not even close. Because a lot of times, especially what those kids are craving, and this very much varies depending on the situation there. But what they're craving can really usually only be fulfilled from love in a relationship with mom and dad. And they're going to try and fill those voids with their friends, with substance abuse, with a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, and they'll
and
never
less healthy avenue.
yes, and they'll never be satisfied in that way
Yeah.
or truly fulfilled. And so that's where isolated time together really comes into play. And that's been some of the most impactful stuff, like where you see kids that refuse to talk to their parents really kind of coming back to the family. It's not all perfect,
No.
100%, or you go on one trip and all of a sudden everything's fixed. But that has
But it's a
been
step
the
in the
most
right
common,
direction.
like the most common best fix of like, you almost go all in.
Yeah.
Of like, uh-oh, there's something wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of drifting apart, let's just force the issue. We spend way more time together.
Yeah.
TVs are off in the house from now on. Like, just cut cable, forget it.
Yeah.
Unplug them, sell the TVs. It's not even an option anymore. Wi-Fi gets cut off. We sit down at the table as a family from now on. We do board game nights, even though everyone, for the first while, everyone throws a fit, but eventually it just becomes normal in what your family does, and you just reconnect. And so that's where a lot of the psychology and the family counselors have gone, at least the ones that have been effective that I've seen.
Yeah. And I've seen, just in my life, I've seen when you have a shared struggle with someone, it brings you closer, whether you want it to or not. So that's where, like, going on a rafting trip, you're battling against the elements. You don't have the energy to battle against each other. And then you have that shared experience of coming out on the other side of a challenging rapid or a really hard run. And that bonds you, whether the kid wants to be bonded or not.
That's true.
I mean, it's just...
And they all don't have to be life or death related,
No.
like rapids, but
No.
just massive amount of time. Like,
Yeah.
if you guys are really struggling, that tends to be the best thing.
Yeah. Find someone that needs a lot of yard work and volunteer you and your kid to do that yard work so that you have that shared struggle outside serving someone else.
Yeah. So serving others definitely helps. So the other reason I like just going out and doing stuff, because there's really nowhere for them to run away.
Yeah.
So when you're still in your neighborhood, they know how to get out of there.
They've got an escape plan. Paradigm shift, people. Juke them out.
Go out to Yellowstone, you're going to get eaten by a bear. So you might want to stick close.
Yeah. Stay close. So you watch Parent Trap, the old Parent Trap. She convinces the twin girls, convince the stepmom that hitting two sticks together will keep the mountain lions away.
I don't remember that scene.
No.
I kind of remember. Is that Lindsay Lohan?
Drop it. No, you child.
Sorry.
Haley Mills is the original actress
Never
in
heard of
Parent
that
Trap.
person. Sorry, Haley.
Put it in the comments if you watch the Haley Mills Parent Trap. I'm not alone here, right? Let me know.
1970s?
Haley Mills? It might be older than that.
Oh, geez. Okay, yeah. Then I have no clue what we're talking about.
Culture, man. You
Oh,
need
gosh.
culture.
There was like a 1990s or early 2000s.
You spend
Parent
too
Trap,
much
right?
time.
Was that
Yes,
Lindsay Lohan?
That was Lindsay Lohan.
That's one I've seen.
I don't
Okay.
acknowledge the existence of that one.
We don't have 8mm TVs, so I can't watch some of the stuff you do.
We're just gonna let that lie. Everyone's just gonna roast you in the comments.
Sorry.
All right, so you have sons. You have 3 sons. And so you talk a lot about fatherhood and masculinity. Is your message applicable to all fathers or just fathers of boys?
Oh, certainly all fathers. A lot of my perspective is definitely going to come when you get into like the specific details. Are going to come from dads and boys, of course, but you just kind of change the narrative on there, whereas I'm trying to raise boys that become great men that will become, great husbands and great dads themselves. You just kind of flip that switch and you're raising good daughters or to become great women.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's the same qualities. Obviously, mom's going to have a role in there, being a little bit more personal.
Oh, we get a role.
To what a mom is. But yeah, you just kind of make little adjustments between girls and boys. Yeah. But you're right. Personal experience as far as like girls becoming women and all that kind of stuff, that is not my niche that I really focus on.
Yes.
But knowing where the family stands, what values are important for us, that transcends male or female.
I have daughters and I have read your book, and I do find that your advice is helpful for parents of boys and girls. So what do you think the biggest issues are with parents today? You're a millennial dad, aren't you?
That depends what millennials are. I forget the years.
I don't think you're a Zoomer.
Definitely not a Zoomer. Am I? What years is millennial? 84?
It's arguably it starts somewhere between 81 and 83, depending on what you look up.
I feel like it's early 80s. I'm mid 80s, so I guess it is.
I think you're a millennial. You're a millennial parent.
I never cared. The whole generational stuff, I've never felt applies accurately. And I guess that is macro data, but I feel like every generation kind of trashes previous generations, and I'm doing that as well. But
yeah, I mean, it's what we do. If you were born between 81 and 96, according to Pew Research, you are a millennial. So as a millennial parent, what do you think the challenges facing parents are today?
Oh, what have I seen recently? That's really driving me nuts. We were talking about this earlier, and I had a good few answers, and I can't remember a single one of them right now that I'm on the spot. What did I say before?
Bobby points out you can work on an old car or truck, shared project, that kind of thing.
That really is a great
for
one.
time. And
that's Dad taking his hobbies and instead of going off and doing the hobbies on his own and it being his getaway time, using that as time to bond and involving the family. So instead of creating time apart, involve them in what you're interested in.
Yeah. Which my husband is fantastic at, I've got to say. He loves to cook. He loves to build things. But he just has a way of being much better than I do, of being super patient with the kids while they're shoulder to shoulder learning something that he knows how to do so well and he's so fast at, and being able to slow down and be patient with them and not getting antsy with them helping.
Patience is certainly
key.
Is
so
he
much.
teaching them how to cook?
Yes.
Gosh, her husband's a great cook.
Great cook.
Fantastic cook. Modern issues.
After Easter, you can come over. I'm sure we'll have a charcuterie plate once I can eat cheese again.
That'd be fantastic. Let's see.
So is it a time thing? Is it a distraction thing?
Yeah, we were talking earlier where I'd said something for the younger generation or for the youngest kids. You know, something I was just talking to my wife about. We give too much freedom and too many choices, and to where kids are starting to get overwhelmed. Like you just see this. This is a really simple one, but like going to restaurants or going to the store, like, hey, pick this. Yeah. And then the kids are overwhelmed. Like they have 2-3 options and they still just can't choose a lot of, and then it becomes this battle, like an unnecessary fight. Yeah. And where I think if parents just kind of, we give too much freedom sometimes, like they need to earn that freedom. They need to earn the independence. And when they're real young, a lot of times it's not go get dressed and then we're frustrated what they got dressed with, or they're just getting overwhelmed in the mornings or starting off crazy. And it's not, you know, pick what you want to eat, you know, at the restaurant, and then that turns into a fight at the restaurant. It's supposed to be a nice, fun family moment. We make the decisions for them, and it's going to simplify a lot of things. And that's kind of like a very specific tactic there. Yeah. Of it's just a lot of unnecessary fights by putting too much independence and freedom on young kids. For older kids,
so I'd agree. There's a setting a kid up to succeed, right? And so overwhelming them with the entire menu might be too much for some kids. Some kids might be fine with it. I mean, I have picky eaters. You can give them a 40-page menu. They're still just going to pick the chicken nuggets. Like, that's not hard for them. But for some kids, it's a real struggle. And so limiting that option to, okay, do you want the chicken nuggets? Do you want the steak? Do you want the fried fish? Pick one of those three.
Honestly, it's probably a symptom of what else is going throughout the day. It's probably like so many. We're asking a young child to make so many decisions, and for them to be right and criticizing them when they're wrong. That by the time we get to dinner, they're fried and they're not able. They're just, you can tell they're unable to make the decision, and that causes you frustration because A, that's happening in earlier things, and B, when they are making decisions, you're criticizing them because you're frustrated with what they actually chose. Yeah, and we're teaching them, we're building them up, we're trying to instill confidence, and so setting them up to fail, setting them up for this to be an argument, setting them up for them to be stumped or make the wrong choices. That's really not necessarily the best way. So that was a very specific example there. Yeah.
Finding ways throughout the day that you can help your kid have successes, have little successes. Where if you know that they're overly tired, then maybe now's not the time to drill them on all of the, depending on their age, their ABCs, or all of their memory work, or all of their spelling words, or whatever. Like, You know,
well, and even successful adults do this. Like you've seen this with some high profile billionaire or politician type people where like they wear the same things over and over again. It's one less decision they have to make, that kind of thing. Because even like, well, gosh, every dad's gonna understand this. What do you want for dinner? And then that just turns into a fight.
I'm not answering that.
Like, hey, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go out to eat? And like, so you say, oh, I want to go here. And like, oh, I don't want to go there. I'm like, well, then where do you want to go? It doesn't matter. You pick. That whole poop show of a conversation that you have as a husband and a wife.
Has this happened in your household?
Oh my gosh, has it happened? It drives me nuts.
So I'm the picky eater. My husband will eat anything, and so he'll always ask me, and I'm like, why do I always have to pick? I don't want to. And he was like, you're the one that cares. You're the one that's limited.
So we want to build them up. We want to build up their confidence. That was probably a bad example for like what we're doing as a young generation, but it's the only thing I could think of. You put me on the spot there. For older kids, biggest thing that I see that drives me nuts is we're putting 18-year-olds out there, and they have no idea how to live lives as an adult. Like like parents are not functionally preparing them for the real world, and that drives me crazy. I mean, they have no idea how to budget. They have no idea how to earn an income. They have no idea what taxes are. Who is FICA? Why did they take anything out of my check? They don't know how to do their own laundry. They don't know how to cook for themselves. They don't know how to clean. They need mommy and daddy to do almost everything for them. And that drives me crazy. There is a part of raising a child to be a fully functional, competent adult. And that needs to be happening while they're under their roof, not sending them out and them still being reliant on you for very simple, everyday, basic functions.
Yeah. When your kids are home with you, it's kind of boot camp for life.
Yeah.
If they're not learning how to do their own laundry, then that is a problem. And I'm just training my youngest one to do her own laundry right now.
I mean, maybe if you're the Gates family and you have someone that does your laundry every single day.
I feel like you still need to know, though.
Have a trust fund. Maybe you don't at that level.
I feel like you still need to know.
You should.
There's a certain level of empathy you need for the people that are around you, even if you can employ servants. I mean, there's a certain level of just adulting that should be baseline.
Okay. I'll go with you on that.
That's my opinion.
I'm not going to argue the other way.
So I think you mentioned in that the time we dedicate to parenting is an issue in families these days.
Lazy parenting drives me crazy.
Yeah.
The amount of parents not parenting. So this goes back to the younger ones too. Parents, how do I not offend people here? Maybe I should just offend you. If you are frustrated and overwhelmed. We just kind of had discussions about the kids, but how it happens to adults too.
Yeah.
It's happening to parents where they don't want to parent anymore. They don't want to do the hard right path. And so they just go the easy path and they kind of push their kids away. They push their kids towards TV and phones. And then mom and dad go back to just watch Netflix because that feels better on the mind than actually getting into this issue we really need to be addressing. So lazy parenting drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Flip out on somebody if they were in front of when they tell me this. It drives me crazy. You have to take things head on.
You don't want us to go down the click hole and mindlessly scroll for 2 hours while our kids are trying to talk to us?
Well, you think it's only 10 minutes, and then you look up and it's been 2 hours.
And now dinner's late.
You can Uber Eats it, apparently. So
I have never Uber Eats anything.
Really? Yeah. It's not all that great. I've tried it a few times, and I just find the food's never as good. It's stupid expensive.
Once I heard all of the extra fees, I was like, that is not worth it.
I used to do it at the office, used to try it like 5 or 6 times. And it was just, food's never hot. It never tastes as good. And yeah, by the time you got done with all the fees, you're like, holy smokes.
Yeah. I spent $40 for a McDonald's meal.
Yeah.
No, thank you. Yeah, I can't.
So I don't know if that's gotten any better in the last few years because I haven't done it in a while. But it just, I care about food quality more than anything. What were we talking about before?
Black Molly is what we were talking about. You are a hungry man.
I haven't had that ribeye since January when they shut down the other location.
Yeah. And now you're stressed. You're jonesing.
That ribeye is one of my favorite things.
So we are almost out of time, actually. So what would be your take home outside of going and pre-ordering Good Dad to Great Dad. Find out how to build a legacy with your family by creating a playbook. Have conversations with your kids so they know who you are, what you think, why you believe what you believe. What do you think your take home would be?
Before I go to the take home, if you go to Walmart, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of the big box stores, it's $34.99.
Okay.
That's a stupidly expensive book. I wouldn't buy it at that level. $19.99 on the 100dad.com website. And that's as long as we have them. So,
and that website is in the comments.
100dad.com. So buy them through the website, especially on this pre-order deal. And in order to get that price, this is what I had to do. I had to buy in a ton of books, like pallets and pallets of books.
Yes.
And if you order them far in advance and you buy a ton, you can get that print cost down because it costs us almost $20 to print the books.
Yeah.
And it's on small orders.
That's a lot.
So then, of course, by the time you ship them, by the time you try and have any margin on them, and then you factor in returns and all that, that's why you end up with a $35 book at those big box stores. So don't order through them. Order through the website, even though that won't turn me into a Wall Street Journal or New York Times bestseller because they won't count those sales.
Yeah.
It is best for you. So take advantage of that while you can. $19.99. Get them for Dad. This isn't one of those books that you sit there and say, hey, I know a bad dad, he ought to take these books. These books are for good dads, are for dads that want to be great. And the way I look at it, if you're really into, if you know a person that's really into history, you buy them history books.
Yeah.
Because it's not because they suck at history.
Yeah.
If they're really into investing, you'd buy them an investing book because you know they're into investing and they want to improve in that area. And so same thing with fatherhood. If you know a good dad and you know that's something that they're excited about, they're passionate about, they like being a good father, this is a great book for them. It's not an insult sitting there saying you're not good enough. It's just, I know you're interested in this. This is a great tool to really make sure we're excelling and getting to the very best of what you're capable of.
And just an endorsement for me, I just want to reiterate, going through the process of creating a family constitution and your family playbook, even if you're just having those conversations with your kids and your family and you're establishing who you are as a family and what you believe, I think it's a super valuable exercise. So I do believe that even just that portion of the book is worth the $19.95. I'm going to steal this copy. He's not getting it back. But I do think that you guys should buy the $19.99 version.
Absolutely.
Go to Walmart. Buy the $35 version.
Absolutely. Listen, too many fathers, we kind of go through, we're stumbling through the gray area and we're figuring out as we're going. This way, you don't have to figure it out as you go. It's essentially pre-planned. It's knowing what you're doing. It's figuring it out before you get to certain situations, and it's a really powerful tool. It makes you a much better father. It makes you stronger in your husband-wife relationship because your mom and dad are going to be on the same page. It's going to be a lot less fights going down the road with kids because they know what's right and what's wrong and where dad stands, and it's going to be a lot less frustration for dad because everyone's going to be on the same page, and that is a wonderful thing.
Excellent tool for communication. And I so appreciated communicating with you, Townsend. Thank you for coming back.
Anytime.
Thank you, guys. We've got a great show. Davey's coming in tomorrow. So come back tomorrow. I hope you have a great night. Bye.